All right.
It's fine, John.
All right, cool. Let's look at IFA-Trunk and iStack and CSS. Now, for those of you who are coming from the Cisco family, IFA-Trunk is the same thing we call in Cisco IFA channel. So don't get confused. It's the same thing. And we also do stacking with Cisco gadgets. But we also have what you call cluster switch systems that we are going to look at. But basically, for all these three technologies, there is just two main things that we are trying to look at. Number one, we are doing aggregation. We are doing aggregation. We are implementing a backup link and at the same time increasing bandwidth. You see, STP is good at doing that stuff, but it's not increasing bandwidth. Are we together? Because it is always using one of the links. So let us go back to our implementation that we had at the beginning to illustrate the issues with STP. When you have two links like that, what STP does, as we've already seen, is block one of them. So yes, true, it has done backup because when this link goes down, it will activate that one. Cool, very, very good. But it has not increased bandwidth. So we are paying for an extra connection for no increase in bandwidth. That's not fair. Are we getting the idea?
Yes.
Yeah, we are not getting an increase in bandwidth. Now, when we implement IFA-Trunk or link aggregation, or even iStack, CSS, we shall see the differences. What is happening is, same setup, we have that switch, and we have that switch, and we have the two links. But now, what we have done is, for IFA-Trunk, we have made these links into one link, logical one link. So if this one link is 1 Gbps, and this other link is 1 Gbps, we have created one combined link of 2 Gbps. Are we together? Now, that is one thing. We have increased our what? Bandwidth. Now, the beauty of IFA-Trunk or link aggregation is that if this link goes down, this one will work. If this one goes down, that one will work. What have we done? We have also done backup with one solution. Are we together?
Yeah. Basically, we are bundling the all the ports.
Pardon?
We bundle all the ports together.
Yes, we can bundle ports, 1 port, 2 port, 3 ports, 4 ports, 5 ports. This is gigabit 1, gigabit 2, gigabit 3, gigabit 4, gigabit 5. And then also 1, 2, 3, different cables in each. So we go to the switch configuration and say that gigabit Ethernet 1 up to 5 are going to be only one what? Port, logical port. And gigabit Ethernet 1 up to 5 in this one are going to be only one logical what? One logical port. So what have we done? If one had 1 Gbps and 2 had 1 Gbps and so on, now we have one logical port, only one logical interface of 5 Gbps. At the same time, the beauty of this, again I stress, at the same time, if this link goes down, the traffic that was passing here will be distributed among these ones that are still up. If 2 links go down, the traffic that was passing in those 2 will be distributed among these ones that have remained up. So we have achieved our job that we wanted STP for, but also we have increased bandwidth at the same time. We are doing load balancing and we have backup links. Are we together?
Yes.
That's what IFA-Trunk does. Now, just as a difference, IFA-Trunk implements link level redundancy. Please notice that. If this is a switch, 1, and this is a switch, 2, what IFA-Trunk does, there is a backup, there are backup links. Now imagine a scenario where a switch 1 dies. Is IFA-Trunk helping us?
No, no, no.
It is not helping us because what it did was link level redundancy. It backs up the link, not the device.
Or we can say port level.
Or port level, exactly. Or port level. We are creating a backup for the ports, or for the link, but not for the device. Now, what iStack does is creating for you device level redundancy. So in iStack, what we have a switch here, and we have a switch here, and we have a switch here. Now, we have created these like that. But instead of STP, our normal STP we have looked at, we get hold of these two switches and combine them with a stack link, okay? Now, these two switches have become logically one switch.
One switch.
And that one switch is connecting to the other switch down. And there are two links. This is what it has become logically. Are we together?
Yes.
However, because physically, these two links are not on the same switch, we don't need STP. Are we getting the idea? These two links are different. One is here and one is here. So we don't need STP. Although at logical level, it is one what? One switch. Now what have we done here? If this switch goes down, all this traffic will be directed to that switch. If this one goes down, all that traffic will be directed to that switch. What we have implemented is switch level or device level redundancy. So iStack and CSS help us implement up to device level redundancy. Ifrtran helps us implement up to only link level, or as KB has highlighted, port level redundancy. Are we together?
Yes, yes, understood, sir.
Yeah. Now that is one part. And what's the other part? The other part is, imagine we looked at our access layer in our network, and then the aggregation layer in our network, and then the core layer, okay? On the access layer, we have switches that connect to end devices. We have switches that connect to end devices, host A, host B, host C, host D, host E, host F, host G, host H, okay? Now imagine each of these links is 1 Gbps. Are we together?
Yeah.
All those devices at the access layer are connecting to the aggregation layer, where we have layer 3 switches to do aggregation, okay? And we have connected these devices in backup mode, So we have connected each of these to that and to that. If this one goes down, it sends to that. If this one goes down, you understand? And then we have connected these two also together. There is somewhere I'm heading to, guys. Follow along with me. And then these ones connect to our core. These ones connect to our core. When they connect to our core, they are all sending the traffic there, which is going to the egress. Now, I want you to look at this carefully. See, this switch, these links are also 1 Gbps and 1 Gbps. Now, let us try to look at this from the logical perspective. Assuming host A is sending in 1 Gbps, okay? Host B is sending in 1 Gbps. How is this 1 Gbps and this 1 Gbps going to go through 1 Gbps? Are we together?
Yeah.
Here, load sharing will be done.
Load sharing will be done, true, but normally in our network, we don't have only 3 hosts. So there is another one, and they are all sending 1 Gbps, 1 Gbps. Where I'm heading to is what we do. In most cases, when we are connecting upstream, we might want to do link aggregation. Now we have increased, this one has become 3 GB what? PS. This is a much cheaper solution than trying to go for a new switch that has a 10 Gbps port. It is much more expensive. You could just, because this switch has up to 24 ports. You have used only 5 of them for connecting your what? Your end devices. If a trunk can support bundling up to 8 ports into one logical port. So 1 Gbps and 1 Gbps, you can have up to 8 Gbps. The link has become much, much stronger compared to how it was. That is the reason we have these technologies. So that you've gotten the background to them, let us get into them and see what happens. As services develop and the campus network scale expands, users have increasingly demanding requirements on network bandwidth and reliability. Now, traditional solutions improve network bandwidth by upgrading devices and implement high reliability by deploying redundant links. Now, and using the spanning tree protocol. But we know that all those 3 things have low flexibility, too much configuration for STP, too much expenditure for upgrading links and devices, too much expenditure for reliability, and it is time consuming when we are troubleshooting, and there is complex configurations. Now in this chapter, we talk about IFA-trunk, intelligent stack or iStack, and cluster switch systems, CSS technologies that improve bandwidth and reliability or redundancy. Okay? So by the end of this chapter, you should understand the functions of link aggregation, which by now I hope you have a glimpse on already. You should understand the link aggregation types. We are going to see the 2 types, static and LSCP, load balancing and LSCP. And then we are going to see how to understand the link aggregation negotiation process in the link aggregation control protocol mode, or LSCP, link aggregation control protocol. And you should understand the advantages and principles of both iStack and CSS. The common applications and networking of link aggregation together with stacking technologies. Those are our objectives for this particular chapter. So, network reliability requirements. Normally in our network, we want to have reliability. We want to have a good level of reliability. Something like that. Excuse me, something like that. Okay? Network A sends traffic, and the traffic can go either through that or through that, or both. When this one goes down, then it uses that. When this one goes down, it uses that. If both of them are up, it uses both. Okay? Now, network reliability refers to the capability of ensuring non-stop network services when a single point or multiple points of failure occur on a device or link. Reliability can be implemented at the card or device or link or link levels. Are we together?
Yeah.
So we are going to see card reliability, device reliability, and link reliability, which is going to translate to IFA-trunk, to CSS, and to iStack, as we are going to see. Are we together? So card reliability works like this. We get a heavy, a high-end switch, and then we put in modules or cards in that switch. You can see we have all these slots for power supplies. You can add power supplies depending on your requirements. Now, this particular one we have here is the front view of our S12700E 8 chassis. These are switches, high-end switches. So what you do, you keep adding cards depending on what you want to do, okay? And then if one of them goes down, the other one can do what? Can do the forwarding. That is for card level reliability or redundancy. When it comes to device level redundancy, we have something like that. There is no redundancy here. In case this device goes down or needs maintenance, or we are doing maintenance on it, then our network is off. So the solution is we get an alternate what? An alternate device. Are we together? And then we connect to it. Now, if we use STP, it is going to block one of the what? One of the ports.
Ports.
Are we together?
Yes.
And then when it comes to link level redundancy, same thing. Here, it's only one link. What happens when it goes down? we are off. Now, when we use STP for implementing that redundancy, we know that STP is going to block one of the what? One of the ports, which is not a good thing. We are looking at the alternative that can maximize our resources, our investment, and give us the maximum return on what? On investment. So we are going to look at the principle and configuration of link aggregation. When we want to increase our bandwidth, what do? When multiple links exist between devices, traffic is forwarded on only one link due to STP. We saw that. It will block that and block that and block that. I hear it is preventing loops. And all the traffic gets congested on the what? On the one link. So what we do, we bundle all these links to become one so that STP cannot notice that they are different what? Different interfaces. This is what we do with InfraTrunk. We bundle all of them to become one big what? One big
One
link.
logical link.
With the bandwidth combined. So if this is 10 Gbps, 10 Gbps, 10 Gbps, 10 Gbps, now we have an InfraTrunk port or an InfraTrunk interface with 40 Gbps. Are we together? With this solution, we don't need to buy a new switch that supports 40 Gbps. No, we can use our old switch of 10 Gbps, and then now we have a link of 40 what? Gbps. It can go up to 80. As I've told you, we can bundle up to 8 different links, and they all forward at the same time in what we call a link aggregation group. The first of the concepts we are going to look at in InfraTrunk. It's called the link aggregation group. So when you bundle your links, each of the links is part of that link aggregation group you have created. Each of the links is a link member in your link aggregation group. Are we together? So, link aggregation group, member interface, and then the third term I want you to know, the first one is the link aggregation group. The second one is the member what? Member what?
Interface.
Interface. Yes, I always want to prove there is someone following with me. It's important for me. And then the third one I want to talk about is the active what? Active interface. We can have, like in this case, we have 4 member interfaces, but only 2 of them are active. This and that. This and that. So switch 2 has 4 member interfaces. Switch 1 has 4 member interfaces, but only 2 on switch 1 are active and 2 on switch 2 are active. Are we together?
Yeah.
And then we have inactive member interfaces. In this case, we have that one and that one. They are inactive. That one and that one. So it is possible to have a particular 8 interfaces, and then 6 of them are active, 2 are not active. Depends on what you want. It is also possible to have all the 8 active, and if 6 go down, it is forwarded through 2. If 4 go down, it is forwarded through 4. If all of them are up, it forwards all of them forward. It is possible. That is the 4th term. And then the link aggregation mode. The link aggregation mode. The link aggregation mode can be based on, can be based on the link aggregation control protocol. Or it can be the manual mode. So we have basically manual mode, what we call the manual load balancing mode, and then the link aggregation control protocol mode. When you use the manual mode, all the links will be forwarding. Are we getting the point?
Yes.
If we use the manual mode here, all these links will be active. Unless a link fails, then traffic will be sent among the remaining links. But if the links are all up, they will all be forwarding. That is for manual mode. Now for link aggregation control protocol mode, it is possible to implement a backup link. So I can bundle 4 links, as you can see, but I set up this and that to be backups. They are not forwarding. Yes, they are up, but they are not forwarding. Are we together?
That means all are not working.
Not all of them are working, yes. None of them has physically gone down. None of them has a problem, but the protocol has turned off some of them to work in case the others fail. Now, the final term I want you to know is the threshold. We have what we call the upper threshold and what we call the lower threshold. What do we mean by these two? So again, link aggregation group, member interface, active interface, inactive interface, aggregation mode, and the lower and upper threshold. So what do I mean by lower and upper threshold? This is it. When we have 4 interfaces bundled, the question is, okay, before the question, when this one interface goes down, each traffic will be shared among these 3, isn't it?
Yes.
When 2 interfaces go down, the traffic will be shared among those 2. When 3 interfaces go down, all the traffic is congested in this one. Now, what we call the lower threshold, the lower threshold is saying that I have 5 ports bundled, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If 3 of them go down, then you put my logical interface down. Are we together?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I beg your pardon.
Now, in this case we have, please don't let your network go off. Not everyone wants to hear me repeating my words. In this case, we have 4 links, okay? If link 1 and 2 and 3 go down, all the traffic of 4 links, which has become 4 Gbps, is going through one link of 1 Gbps. Am I right?
Yes.
Now, what lower threshold means is to say that I have 4 links in total. I bundled 4 to have one what? One big link. But the problem, when link 1 goes down, the one big link will still be up. Link 2 goes down, the one big link is still up. Link 3 goes down, the one big link is still what? Up. Now, lower threshold is to say, if 2 of the links go down, you turn off the what? The logical link, so that we can fix the problem. Are we getting the idea?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And then the upper threshold is to say that I have bundled 8 ports, but please only 6 can be active at a time. Don't activate all of them. Okay? Only 4 can be active at a time. So if this one goes down, I add on this one. I don't add both of them. If this one goes down, I add on that one. I don't, only for that is the upper threshold. Are we together?
Yes, yes, yes.
So now let us discuss the 2 modes. We say we have the manual mode and we have the link aggregation control protocol mode. Let us look at the manual mode. And as I told you, in manual mode, all the active interfaces will be forwarding data. That's it. An interface will only not forward data if the link is down. The link has got a problem, so that one will not forward data. That is in manual mode. All the links will be forwarding data. The IFA trunk is manually created and the manual interface, member interfaces are manually configured. The link aggregation control protocol is not enabled. It is not used for negotiation. Now, in most cases, all links are active. Are we together? All links
Yes.
are active unless one of the links goes down, and then, of course, its traffic will be load shared among the other active links. This is normally the one we use for all low-end devices that don't support link aggregation control protocol. Okay? Are we together?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yes. One of the defects of the link aggregation control protocol is illustrated here. To ensure that the IFA trunk works properly, ensure that peer interfaces of all member interfaces in the IFA trunk meet these requirements. Okay? The peer interface reside on the same what? On the same device. For IFA trunk to work well, look at this error. This is actually the problem with manual mode. Because it doesn't do auto what? Auto negotiation. You set up everything yourself. So it is possible for you to connect 4 interfaces in the same IFA trunk here, and only 3 of them are on the peer device. One of them is actually connecting to another what? Another device. Now this is a problem, but manual mode will not identify it. You have to check it yourself. Are we together?
That means we can't configure this type of topology.
Yes, you
means
can.
one side.
You can configure this, but you can see it's a problem. Are we
That
together?
means, yes, if we want to connect both, if we have used 4 ports in switch 1, we need to use 4 ports in switch 2 also.
Exactly. This one is supposed to go there. Now what we are saying is, in IFA trunk, everything has to be manually what? Confirmed. In manual mode, everything. But now in link aggregation control protocol, they will do negotiation. It will check and say, hold on, the other side there are only 3 interfaces, please update. Are we together? Now here you have to check everything yourself. What is the problem with this defect? The problem with this defect is that this traffic is going to be load balanced to that switch. Now we don't know whose switch this one is.
Yes.
Imagine some malicious user comes with their switch and they unplug one of our ports that is connecting there and they connect their switch. They are going to get all our traffic because it is load balanced. Are we together?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that is a problem. Okay? Are we together?
Yes.
The other problem is in manual mode, the only way for the system to determine, for the switch to determine that a link is down is when it is physically down. Are we together?
Yes.
It depends on the physical what? On the physical layer. So if there is an internal problem in the forwarding, there is a fault in the forwarding of this link. If it is not down at physical layer, traffic will still be going. But we know that traffic is going to be lost because this link has a problem. This interface has a problem. Are we together?
Yes.
Manual mode cannot identify that. And that is why we have the link aggregation control protocol mode. It uses what we call link aggregation control protocol data units, LSCPDUs, okay, which indicate the device priority, the MAC address, the interface priority, and the interface number. We are going to see why those are important. The switches exchange what we call link aggregation control protocol data units. Now again, in STP we saw bridge protocol data units.
BPD.
In OSPF we saw hello packets. Now in link aggregation control protocol, we are seeing link aggregation control protocol data units. There is always some kind of packets moving from one end to the other end to say, I am here, I speak this language. Are you there, man? Yeah, guy, I'm here, I also speak the language. Can we communicate? Cool, let's communicate. There always has to be some mechanism for protocols to exchange packets. So here we are seeing that in link aggregation control protocol, we use what we call LSCPDUs, link aggregation control protocol data units. And what is there in those protocol data units? The device priority. Now we have seen priority a number of times, and I can assume one of you is already guessing. One of these devices will be a master, and the other one will be a what? A slave. The one with the better priority is going to be the master. And then we also have the MAC address, and I assume you already guessing what the MAC address is. What happens if we all have the same priority? We might want to compare the what? The MAC address. Are we together? This is the beauty of network engineering when you follow the classes. Things start to be making sense every time. And then we have what? Interface priority. What is the job of interface priority? We said in link aggregation control protocol mode, LSCP mode, it is possible to have only part of the interfaces as active and others as inactive. What do we depend on to choose? The priority. Are we together?
Yeah.
So if this interface has a better priority and this one has a bad priority and this one, now the master's interface is determined. That is important. Are we together? If this device is the master, we are going to consider its what? Its priorities. These ones will respond accordingly. Are we getting the point?
Yes.
Okay. So we talk about the system priority, which I've already talked about. In LSCP mode, the number of active interfaces selected by devices at both ends must be consistent. Otherwise, the IFA trunk cannot be set up. In this case, configure one end as the actor, that is the master, then the other end, then the other end selects active interfaces according to the what? The actor or the master. The actor is determined based on the system what? Priority. A smaller value indicates a higher priority. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And as we know, as we said already, in layer 2, the smaller in most cases, the what? The better. And we can still see the priority is the one of STP, 32.768. A smaller value means higher priority. Generally, the default value is used. But if an engineer wants to decide, I want this one to be the actor, then you might want to go and change the priority of that one to a smaller one. So when it's compared with this one, they select that one as the what? As the actor. And then about the interface, I've already explained. After the actor is selected, both devices select active interfaces based on the interface priorities of the actor because he's the boss. A smaller link aggregation control protocol interface priority value indicates a higher what? A higher priority. Now, unlike STP, the priority of our interfaces in STP is 128 by default. The LSCP interface priority, link aggregation control protocol interface priority is 32.768, same as device priority by default. Are we together?
Yes.
And then we also have, I've already explained, the maximum number of active interfaces. We can set it. You say, yes, it is true. I have bundled up to 4 interfaces together. But please and please, only 2 should be forwarding at a time. If this one goes down, activate that one, depending on the interface priority. Are we together?
Yes.
If this one goes down, activate that one. If one of these is up, deactivate one of these. These ones have higher what? Priority. Are we together?
Yes. Yes.
That is what happens, what we are showing here. When this interface fails, we activate that one, and everything is happening automatically. So how do we select? How do we select the links? How do we elect the links? And if a trunk in link aggregation control protocol mode is set up between switch 1 and switch 2, and the maximum number of active interface has been set to 2 on switch 1 and switch 2. Switch 1, who has the higher priority? How are we knowing that? How are we knowing that? Assuming that 32.768 is the same for both switches. Can everyone see which MAC address is smaller here?
Yes. Switch 1 MAC address.
Switch 1 MAC address, because it is 6.4. This one is 6.5. Okay? So he has higher priority. The smaller, the better. So he becomes the actor through link aggregation control protocol data unit negotiation. He becomes the actor. Once he becomes the actor, he looks at the priority of his links and he instructs that guy that, hey, these 2 links are the ones that are going to be active, depending on their priorities. Are we together?
Yeah.
Yes.
Switch 1 notifies the peer end of the elected active interfaces. He notifies him using link aggregation control protocol data units. And then switch 2 also activates those what? Those interfaces. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes. Now with link aggregation control protocol, we support 2 kinds of load balancing. We support 2 kinds of load balancing. What we call per packet load balancing and what we call per flow Okay? We support load balancing based on packets or based on flows. Now, what do we mean? Based on packet, what we are saying is each packet will be sent on a different what? Link. Okay? Until all the packets are finished. So if we have 100 packets and 4 links, as you will see, packet 1 will go on one link, 2 on another link, 3 on another link, 4 on the other link, then 5 on that link, 6. Are you getting the idea?
Yes.
Are we together?
Yes.
We are load balancing based on the packets of the data. Now, when we base on flow, that means we are going to depend on where is the packet coming from, or where is it going, or both. We can say based on source what? MAC address, or based on destination MAC address, or based on source and destination MAC address, or based on source. You get the idea?
Yeah.
That is based on flow. So we can load balance based on the packet, per packet load balancing, or based on the flow, per flow load balancing. Are we together?
Yes.
Are we together, everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let us have something about the load balancing mode here. What we have here, and Ifatran can load balance traffic based on IP addresses or MAC addresses of packets. That is for per flow based. You can configure different load balancing modes. This is valid only for outgoing packets to distribute data what? Data flow to different members. Are we together? Traffic can be load balanced based on source IP address, source MAC address, destination IP address, destination MAC address, source and destination IP address, source and destination MAC address, as we have seen. Now, for actual services, you need to configure a proper what? A proper load balancing mode based on traffic characteristics. If a service traffic parameter changes frequently, it is easier to load balance traffic if you use the load balancing mode based on this frequently changing what? Traffic parameter. Are we together?
Yes.
For example, if we have the same source destination MAC addresses, but the source destination IP addresses keep changing, it is better to load balance based on IP addresses because they keep what? Changing. Are we together?
Yes.
I hope you understand that. And then let us look at the typical application scenario. We can have something like that. Okay? We can implement it between switches or between the switch and server. This is a common implementation because normally servers are carrying out a lot of traffic. We have servers, like I have servers that have 4 machines on them. I recently got virtual machines on them, 4 virtual machines, and all these machines are sending data. So if a server has up to 6 ports, you might want to bundle 4 of the ports, okay? Bundle all of them to the switch, and then the switch can forward the what? The data. So if each of them is 1 Gbps, now you have 4 Gbps getting out or getting into your server. The other way is putting them between the switches. I already explained it. They are hosts, they are users connected here, and they are all sending their what? Their data to the switch, the access switch. This data is too much to be going through one link unless you have an uplink that is much stronger than. Some switches have 1 Gbps and other 100 Mbps there. So that one is okay. But if all ports, most of our Huawei switches have 1 Gbps, 1 Gbps, 1 Gbps, all of them are 1 Gbps. So the hosts are coming through 1 Gbps. You can have an uplink of something like 10 Gbps, 8 Gbps, 5 Gbps. So you bundle together. Also from aggregation to core, you bundle together. Are we together?
Yeah.
Are we together?
Yes.
Now also,
Yes.
sometimes we implement IFA trunk between a switch and a stack. So we have two switches up and we stack them together, and so we set up an IFA trunk connecting to them. That gives us device level redundancy. We also do it for heartbeat links of firewalls. Now, heartbeat links of firewalls is a security. We look at this in security classes, but basically it's a mechanism for a firewall to back up certain flow-based configurations to the other firewall, like session tables and other information. So in case this side goes down, you can start forwarding on that side with no issues of having to rebuild the session tables and so on. So when we are deploying hot standby in firewalls where I want to have two different firewalls on our egress, if this one goes down, we use this one. We most likely want to deploy IFA trunk on that link so that the link can have a higher bandwidth and load balanced and a backup link at the same time. Now we have a configuration example that we are going to have, but basically the commands are simple. If interface IFA trunk and then the trunk ID or the number of the interface, as simple as that. You've created the IFA trunk already. And then you will say mode, you specify LACP or manual load balance mode, okay? That command is for setting the mode. There are two modes we said, manual load balance mode and LACP. And then you go to an interface and you just say IFA trunk, and then you specify the IFA trunk. What you've done is getting this interface and adding it to an IFA trunk you've created. The other way of adding an interface to an IFA trunk is going to the IFA trunk you've created, the IFA trunk interface view, and then you say trunk port and you specify the interface type and the interface number. So you say trunk port gigabit Ethernet 001. Trunk port, this is a much easier way if you have many trunk ports because you can even group them together. Sorry, you can group them together here and you can group them together in the other option. And then you can do a mixed rate, a mixed rate link enable. What this command does is it enables you to be able to bundle together interfaces of different link speeds, okay? So I have a gigabit Ethernet, 1 gigabit Ethernet link, and the 100 Mbps link. This is 1,000, and 100 and 100 and 1,000. So I want to be able to bundle them into one link. I run this command called the mixed rate link enable. If I don't run this command, then these links must have the same physical properties. We set the LACP priority using the LACP priority and we specify the priority. That is for the device priority. And if we want to set the interface priority, we do LACP priority at the interface view. Maximum active link number, we talked about the maximum active link number. You can specify it using that command, and you can specify the least active. This is the two thresholds we talked about. The higher threshold and the lower threshold. You set them like that. Now we have a configuration example here. Your exercise, take a picture of it. Don't copy the configurations. Do the configurations yourself. Are you finished?
No.
Yeah.
Cool. And then the second one is here. Again, don't copy the configurations. In this one, there is a link that functions as a backup. Don't forget. Are we done? Good. So let us briefly look at the overview of iStack and CSS. I already told you when we want to use iStack and when we want to use CSS. But first, let us introduce them. Now the thing is, we normally use iStack on lower end switches, like the 5700. We use CSS on high end switches, like the 12700 switches, okay? We don't have devices that support both of these technologies. What these technologies do is exactly the same thing. As you can see here, we are combining normal access switches, which can be layer 2 or 3. We are combining them into one intelligent stack. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we are all connected to the same switch. And when we talk about CSS, it's something similar. Here we use a stacking cable. Here we use a CSS link. We connect two core level switches to one bigger core level switch. So now we have what we call link aggregation at device level there, link aggregation at device level there, implementing device level redundancy. Are we together?
Mm.
So what are the advantages? No need for STP. You see, if we do this stuff, we need STP here. If we do this stuff, we need STP there. If we do this stuff, we need STP. Now, when we combine these into one device, and these into one device, and these into one device, what we have created is that we have this switch and that switch, each of them connecting to that switch. Now, we have created logical forms of the CSS and iStack. Are we together?
Yes.
We have done CSS here and we have done iStack there. We have implemented both of them. That creates inter-device link aggregation. That one logical device simplifies operation and maintenance facilities. Now, some of you are probably wondering, on this switch, we have gigabit Ethernet 0, 0, 1 up to gigabit Ethernet 0, 0, 24. And on this switch, we also have gigabit Ethernet 0, 0, 1 up to gigabit Ethernet 0, 0, 24. Now, John, stop fooling us. Now, how do we have the links here? How do we have the links here? The thing is, on this bigger switch, what has happened, that it has one switch with 2 modules. Normally, when we are naming our interfaces that gigabit Ethernet, the first number is a module number. The second number is a card number, and the third number is the interface what? Number. So, after combining this, every device will have a module number. So now, if this one has 1 and this one has 0, the interfaces that were here, the gigabit Ethernet of 0, 0, 1 for this switch will become gigabit Ethernet 1, 0, 1. This one has 1 as the module number. This one has 2. Now the one with 2, its gigabit Ethernet 0, 0, 1 will become gigabit Ethernet 2, 0, 1. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes, now we can reach all the ports. This one has up to 24. This one has up to 24. If we use service ports to link the 2, then we removed one of the ports for linking these 2 switches, or 2 of the ports. So it stops at 22 or 23, and that at 22 or 23. This is one of the applications. One of the applications. We want to expand port quantity. Instead of having something like that, we have only up to 24 ports here. We want more ports, so we create 3 switches, but because they are all connecting to the same network, we stack them, and we have one big switch. Now 24 times 3 becomes 72 ports we have on one big switch. Also, we can extend the bandwidth and implement redundancy. Instead of having something like this, we have the 3 switches here stacked, and then they are all connecting upward with combined what? combined links, providing device level redundancy at that level. The other application is that instead of having two independent switches, each of them running multiple spanning tree protocol and VRRP. VRRP is not under the scope of this class, but MSTP, we looked at it briefly. VRRP is also like IFA trunk, but for it, it is for layer 3. Let me just give you a small idea on VRRP. So if you have your host here, host A, and you have your other host here, host B, okay? They are all configured with gateway 1.1.1.24. Gateway 1.1.1.24. They connect to a switch, and that switch connects to a router. And this interface, are we following, is 1.1.1.24. Are we together?
Yes.
What happens when this interface gets a problem? All our hosts can't reach the outside network. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. So sometimes we want to do something like this. Okay? We want to do something like that, and then our hosts are here. Host A, host B. Then we give the gateway. If this gateway goes down, we change to this gateway. The problem with that is when the gateway goes down, we have to come back to the host and configure the new gateway, isn't it? That is also a problem. So what we do, we get these two routers and combine them into a logical router. That is what VRRP is about. Okay, and MSTP, we looked at it. Now in this way, if we combine this, they become one logical device that only needs CSS. Are we together? It is now simpler, the configurations are simpler, the topology is simpler, everything is simple. It doesn't need MSTP, no need for STP, no need for VRRP, everything is simple and straightforward. This is the recommended architecture. So if you ever get into real configuration of a real enterprise grade heavy network, this is the kind of architecture we recommend you use. So you create stacks at access layer, and then you do device level, IFA trunk, moving to aggregation layer. You create an iStack at aggregation layer, and because the core layer normally has high-end devices, you create a cluster switch system up there to link to the outside world. That is what the topology in most cases will look like. Are we together?
Yes.
Yeah.
There we have questions that for this time I'm not going to ask anyone to answer. I'm going to ask you to answer in your heart. And if you don't know